China's largest private asset management giant is facing bankruptcy. Real estate companies are also experiencing a series of defaults.
My name is Chin Yanchun. I was the first person to move into this abandoned building.
China's media refers to the Zhongzhi Group as China's Blackstone Group, but it is currently facing significant risks and may become another collapsed financial giant in China. Under the Zhongzhi Group's umbrella, China Credit Trust has started notifying investors about the suspension of redemptions since August 8, involving a total of 350 billion Chinese yuan. Insiders have revealed that Zhongzhi Group has defaulted, and all the affected investors are high-net-worth individuals. There are 150,000 investors with individual investments exceeding 3 million yuan, totaling 230 billion yuan, with the largest individual investment exceeding 5 billion yuan.
Tell us the truth. No need for those grandiose words. Up until today, what kind of response can you really give us? Besides your researching excuse. Do you need to research for these blatantly obvious matters? You are a staff member now, but after work, you are also an ordinary citizen. If this happened to your family and you purchased something under national regulation, clearly spelled out in black and white, and suddenly it defaults, what would you think? You are human, and we are too. With so many ordinary citizens, so many people calling for answers, shouldn't you clarify things for everyone?
First, I request that you provide us with a list of the first 30 defaulted products. I want to know what these products are. Second, I want to know if your property rights and ownership are under the name of Zhongzhi, just like your home's property deed. I want to know if the property deed is in your name. Are my demands difficult to answer?
Bloomberg reported on August 14 that as of July 31 this year, the Zhongzhi Group had witnessed defaults on 106 trust products with a total value of approximately 44 billion yuan, of which 74% were related to real estate investments. Recently, many giants in China's real estate and asset management industries have experienced financial crises, including Evergrande, Country Garden, state-owned enterprise Far Ocean, and China Credit Trust. On September 4, a large number of people affected by the Zhongzhi Group's default gathered to protest at the Zhongzhi Group headquarters in Chaoyang District, Beijing. They were attacked by individuals, known as white shirts, hired by the government. Subsequently, some of the protesters were illegally detained by the police. The most heartless consequence of real estate defaults is the proliferation of unfinished buildings. Unfinished buildings are a product of China's property bubble economy, resulting from developer and bank misconduct, government regulatory negligence, and the rupture of construction funding chains, leading to construction halts and abandonment. The exact number of unfinished buildings in China is unknown, as the CCP officials do not publicly disclose such data. In August 2022, a grassroots organization collected data showing that there were 110 projects in 32 key first- and second-tier cities across the country that had been abandoned for more than 10 years, with 4 projects abandoned for over 30 years. In 2022, Evergrande alone left 1.5 million homeowners affected by abandoned housing projects across the nation. According to Chinese law, homebuyers are required to start repaying bank mortgages when the developer's property project reaches its top floor, but many banks engage in irregular practices, deceiving buyers into starting repayments even earlier. This means that homebuyers not only lose their homes, but also have to repay substantial bank mortgages. With the continuous decline of the Chinese economy and job losses, homeowners without income are forced to live in unfinished buildings without water, electricity, proper doors and windows, or toilets, resulting in a desolate and dilapidated living environment.
We use firewood because we have no gas. We don't have money, so we let the wood dry, and then we can burn it. My name is Chen Yanchun, and I moved in on May 18th. I was the first person to move into this abandoned building. The water in this pit looks murky, but when we pump it up, it's relatively clear. We use it for washing our face and hands. We buy drinking water from outside and use a large cart to transport it. We can get a ton of water in one trip. Now, we eat together, and it costs about 5 yuan per person per day. When I first came here, it was so desolate. I raised some chickens. When they crowed at dawn, I felt less scared. We bought our house in 2013, with a monthly mortgage of 4,000 yuan. During the pandemic, I lost my job, so I returned the rented house and moved into this abandoned building. This is my pots, pans, and my sofa, my bed, all my belongings. I moved everything here. This is my new home now. When I first moved here, I had to wait until after 4 a.m. every night before I dared to sleep because there were stray dogs here. One night, when I came back, more than a dozen stray dogs surrounded me and bit me. I was so scared that I had to drive them away with an umbrella. My friends advised me to move out, but where could I go? I have no home now. This is what I spent my whole life saving, buying a little home. It was supposed to be my and my sweetheart's little home. I bought this house to get married, and we did get married. But because of this house, we ended the marriage. I'm turning 40 soon, and buying a house is a lifelong effort. No matter what, it's always my home.
He comes from the countryside and, in 2017, used the money he earned from his own business to buy a house in the city. Unfortunately, it turned out to be an abandoned building. He moved into this abandoned building in March of this year.
Today is September 4th, 2023. I came here this morning to take a look at my future home, and I suddenly found that the road home was blocked again. I can only enter through the underground parking garage. What I want to say is, they didn't block the road to my home, they blocked people's hearts. Today, I painted once, maybe the method was wrong. I've already worn out 2 rollers. Let me continue tomorrow. I still need to earn money. Today, I'm planning to work on the lighting for the entire house. Let me install a nice-looking light in the bedroom since we spend a lot of time there. I will also install some spotlights in the kitchen. I've noticed that this wall isn't easy to nail into. The living room light has to be bright. It's the living room after all, it has to be bright. The biggest question everyone has is how to solve the electricity issue. As you can see, we're using a generator, which solves the electricity problem. Take a look at how the lighting inside the house is now. This is the small house I live in. The environment is alright. For water, I use this bucket, carrying it up 1 bucket at a time. I use a gas cylinder for cooking. The courtyard is filled with vegetables, and the sweet potatoes are growing quite well. I don't know when construction on the house will resume. I have no idea when I can finally live in my own home. Sigh, it feels like resuming construction is still a distant prospect. What should I do? Regarding my house, I just want to say that I was wrong. I'm a farmer's child, how could I have thought about settling down in a big city? I shouldn't have come to the big city to make a home, my duty should have been in the countryside, taking care of my crops. The once passionate spirit in me has been worn down. I don't want to strive anymore, I just want to go back to the countryside, tend to my land, and take care of my parents. I don't ask for much, just good health for myself and my parents.
He is a post-90s youth who has worked as an actor, host, and singer. He struggled for 10 years and finally managed to buy an apartment in Zhongzhi, Hunan. Unfortunately, it turned out to be an abandoned building.
I just can't stand it anymore. Is there anyone who cares about us ordinary folks in such dire straits? Everyone, take a look. This is the well-known real estate project Mingmen Sui Yuan on Sanquan Road in Zhongzhi. Look at its current state, sealed with notice boards and halted construction. Today is the 25th. At noon, I paid off my parking space loan, checked my mortgage, and still owe the bank 310,000 yuan, with only 6 days left until next month's first to pay the mortgage. Due to the pandemic and lockdowns, I've been unemployed for over a month with no income. If this continues, I'll really go crazy. It's so tough. The bank won't give you time, waiting for you to find a job before repaying the loan. I don't know when I can climb out of this pit. The only thing I can do is encourage myself. I've always thought of myself as a good young man, but when I offered as much kindness and love as possible to the city I love, what I might get in return could be a lifelong misfortune. I spend my family's hard-earned money to buy an abandoned building. The bank violated lending regulations and charged the highest interest rates, while construction funds were misappropriated. The bank's loan feels like a death sentence every month. I didn't do anything wrong, so why do homebuyers have to bear all the consequences? Countless rounds of protests have exhausted the bodies and minds of all buyers. How much more pressure, anxiety, and injustice do we, as consumers, have to bear? When will it end?
Why are there so many abandoned buildings in China? It's because the overall economic environment in China has changed, and the once thriving real estate sector, which used to contribute to 1/3 of China's economic growth, has been greatly impacted. On the other hand, China's laws do not protect property owners, so when abandoned buildings occur, neither property developers, banks, nor government officials bear any responsibility. They will not be punished, as the law does not penalize those in power. In some U.S. states, residents can file for bankruptcy, but mainland Chinese residents cannot. Even if they lose their homes and jobs, they are still required to repay their loans and may become targets of stability maintenance by the CCP. The societal framework in China appears to blur the lines between right and wrong, often turning ethical norms upside down.
Why can't you resolve the issue with the abandoned building you bought? Because the local government has pocketed the money from land sales, and commercial banks profit from high interest rates every month. You dare not stop repaying, even if it's an abandoned building, otherwise, they'll blacklist you and auction off your other properties. Legal fees and litigation costs are also your responsibility. You're the one who's at a loss. The developer already made a fortune from selling expensive properties, and everyone's happy, except for those buyers who have to repay high mortgages. You see, as long as it doesn't affect social stability, it's the home buyers who have to bear it. Why? Because you're the vulnerable group, and you have no place to voice your concerns.
In the past 6 months, the Chinese economy has experienced its most severe downturn in decades. Slow GDP growth, offshoring of supply chains, weak consumer demand, and sluggish exports have been evident. Youth unemployment rates have reached record highs, reaching 21.3% in July. In August, the authorities announced they would no longer disclose youth unemployment rate to conceal the challenging employment situation. The real estate crisis has highlighted systemic flaws in China's economic operation. Beyond the pandemic, the rigid centralized political control and the state-controlled investment-driven growth model are the more fundamental and far-reaching reasons for China's economic vulnerability. In addition to abandoned property developments, in recent years, Beijing's authoritarian model has given rise to a series of abandoned projects, including the Belt and Road Initiative, the $100 billion chip project, Made in China 2025, and more, portraying the CCP's rule as a state of abandonment. Since the end of last year, the Chinese Communist Party has introduced various stimulus policies for the real estate market, including lowering interest rates, reducing down payment requirements, easing purchase restrictions, lowering interest rates on existing loans, and expanding mortgage eligibility. However, the impact has been minimal. The fundamental issue is that the Chinese Communist Party has not increased the incomes of ordinary citizens, leaving people unable to afford housing and spend on consumption. Some netizens say that between distributing money and issuing policies, the Chinese Communist Party has chosen to issue policies only. From abandoned buildings to a stalled nation, the people have lost trust in the Chinese Communist Party.
你是这么执法的吗？你是这么执法的吗？我说把照片删了。你是这么执法的吗？我说把照片删了。我有监视权吗？把照片删了。把照片删了。我跟你说了，把照片删了。不是你不能这样记录人家呀，对吧？让人别多说话。起来。